All right, well, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll wait a couple more minutes for people to join since it is a few minutes before 2 o'clock still. All right, well, good afternoon. Welcome to the 2 o'clock session for construction in the Career Planning for Graduation and Beyond virtual series today. I've already got it recorded. I'm trying to make sure I don't leave anybody in the waiting room. So for this session, we're going to be talking to the Carpenters International Training Fund, or CIFT, with Jeremy Dennis. He's the Assistant Director of Education for Ohio Carpentry. And so, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll be watching the chat and the participants window to let anyone in. So if you have questions, let us know. We can save them till the end, or if they're in the middle there, they fit in, we can interrupt and hopefully get some questions answered. But I'll let Jeremy go ahead and introduce himself and tell us about his program.
Thank you, Megan. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, my screen just went blank for a second there. Here to talk to you about our curriculum. So let me explain who we are first. My name is Jeremy Dennis. I'm the Assistant Director of Education for the Ohio Carpenters Union. We have 4 training centers throughout the state of Ohio. That is Richfield, which is up in Cleveland area, Rossford, which is in the Toledo area, Monroe, which is in the Cincinnati area, and Columbus. Those are our 4 training centers. I like to joke with the students that I'm an idiot, so I like things explained to me. So that's how my presentation is going to be. But basically, I tell students that we are the College of Carpentry. So if you are like myself, need to be moving around all the time, wasn't quite meant for that traditional high school learning style, fantastic. Got out of the military, found the Carpenters Union, couldn't be happier. Didn't even know what a carpenter was when I started, and look at me now, Ma. So we, about 15 years ago, we started to see that the schools and vocational schools and tech centers were starting to get away from like an industrial arts class. So what we did is we took our curriculum. We teach apprentices. It's a 4-year-long program, and we scaled it back for high school / career centers. Then we went through and I got our curriculum approved through the Ohio Department of Education for credential points. Each of our carpentry books are worth 4 points each. I'll show you all that here in a moment. But we are also floor layers, millwrights. So we go into like an industrial mechanic. We go into, I'm in Columbus, so Budweiser, and work on conveyor systems and Amazons and stuff like that, where our students are measuring to like the thousandth of an inch with equipment. But what we pride ourselves on with our curriculum is we offer multiple pathways to help you earn graduation points for your students. I'll tell you how many schools we currently are working with in the state of Ohio. I will tell you, I specifically see a big shift from that traditional career center. These are now state-of-the-art programs, and a lot of our high schools are starting to adapt our curriculum and giving basically a scaled-back version of that 2-year program for students, still offering a 12-point credential. It will get a little confusing. I'll try to make it as clear as I can in the time that I have about how we offer this multiple pathway to earn 12 points for students, whether you be in high school or a career center. Okay. So first, I'm going to start by stealing everybody's screen and kind of show you what our curriculum looks like. And it should be this one right here. Is it showing up, Megan? I gotta, let's say my computer's running a
Yep,
little
we're on the,
sluggish this afternoon.
yeah,
Okay,
we're on the
fantastic. Sorry,
sandbox.
it's not,
So before
it's
you
not
start
showing
real
on
quick,
mine.
I did have one
Yes,
question
ma'am.
I thought we could go ahead and answer. It says, is
Yep.
this only for high school students, or are there, like, if you had students that were like the 18 to 22 range, would they be able to access this too?
Well, you're getting ahead of me a little bit on
Okay,
my
sorry, we can answer
presentation,
it
but
later. That's
yes,
fine. Yeah,
high school career centers, community outreach programs. I even go into correctional facilities with this curriculum. But for today's topic, I'm going to focus on the graduation credentials because I believe that's what we're here for, the industry recognized credentialing, which we do. So first, we have a total of 8 books that are part of our curriculum set. Okay. And I'll blow this up a little bit so everybody can see it a little bit better. So the first one being a one trade mini careers. This is a soft skills book. This talks about what not only the trades program is, and I'm a carpenter. Everything I'm talking about only deals with the carpentry trade, pipe fitters, electricians, and all that. I don't think they have anything quite like we do currently. But this soft skill books has students kind of look at themselves. What are their interests, their hobbies? How would that align with a career? Because when I go in and talk to students in schools, I tell them, find something you enjoy doing. And I know they say it's not like work. I disagree. It's still work, but if I have to go do it every single day, I would like to do something I enjoy doing. So the soft skills, and it also, I have a teenage daughter, so I'm allowed to say this. This is their worst enemy. This soft skills book actually tells them how to look people in the eye when you talk to them, how to put your phone down when you're on a job site so that you don't get fired and stuff like that. This book is not worth any points for graduation. The only ones that are worth the recognized industry credentials in the state of Ohio currently are our Project Book 1 book right here, Project Book 2, and we are commercial carpenters. So that means that we build hospitals, schools, Hilton hotels, stuff like that. Most schools still teach residential carpentry. Nothing wrong with that. We just offer 2 different books because we are commercial carpenters. I'll use an example of Pickaway Ross. They've changed their carpentry program to a commercial program. That's Aaron McManus's program. But most of our schools in Ohio still teach Project Book 3, the residential. To us, carpentry is carpentry. My goal is to have a student come out of a program, whether it be high school or career center, and understand the fundamentals of carpentry. And that's what these books here start with. So Project Book 1, just to give you an example of what these books are like, and I can show you them digitally as well. But Project Book 1 is the very, very basics of carpentry. Mostly it's 6 chapters of learning what carpentry is, how to read a tape measure, tool safety, all that stuff. And then there's 15 projects in there that range from birdhouses to a CD rack. And I think you have to explain to these kids today what a CD rack is. But that is something that they could actually build. So if you're interested what the requirements is, to complete this book, your students would have to get through all the chapters and build 3 projects out of this book per student. And again, we're talking birdhouses. These are very small. I have some schools in Columbus that don't even have a shop, and they're getting through this book with just some basic tools in a classroom. Okay. Project Book 2 is a 4-point credential. Now we're going to step it up a bit with the carpentry knowledge. There are only 2 in-classroom chapters, and they are actually a review of Project Book 1. But our projects are going to increase quite a bit in skill level, because now they're building sawhorses, picnic tables, like an octagon picnic table, playhouses, and stuff like that. So we're really starting to hit the fundamentals of carpentry and building buildings in this one. And then Project Book 3, I will be honest, most high schools can't do this one. This is more towards the career centers, but this is essentially building a building from start to finish. Concrete footers, dirt work. A school would have to, or a program would have to cover about 70% of that book. But I do have some high schools starting to get into it. Like I said, I'm seeing a big shift that these career centers have waiting lists, and a lot of the high schools, these traditional high schools, are picking up our program and offering a scaled back version of it. To give you an example of what our books look like real quick. So let me pause for just a second. I'm in our LMS system. Part of our curriculum is you have a digital format for your students because we know today's day and age, it's all about the Chromebooks and iPads for the students and that learning environment. So right before COVID broke out, we actually released this, and it was a big help to a lot of our schools, because this LMS system, you can assess your students, you can have them do homework assignments, they can see the prints, they can watch videos on all the stuff. But you can see here are 7 chapters. Each of the project chapters have about 3 projects in them. And I'm going to jump just real quickly to the picnic table projects. We pride ourselves again in the multiple pathways for graduation, but we also like projects that can be sold off into the community or school and bring in material costs for next year to help, because as running 4 apprenticeship centers, I know the value of stretching that dollar as far as you can and having the ability to pay for next year's projects. So we're looking at a teacher annotated edition of a book right here. It's just the teacher edition, and you can see that everything is included in there, the teaching tips, the resources, and stuff like that. So for this book to earn that 4-point credential, a student would get through 2 projects. And the reason it's 2 projects time, because these are a bit larger than last book. And we also allow students to team up. Like if I this class and my students were building this picnic table, ideally 2 to 3 students working on it is perfect for that. Okay. So that's why we have a little bit of a flexibility on what the students do. And I'll tell you, by far in the state of Ohio, the #1 project out of our books is the octagon picnic table. Find it here real quick. Curved picnic table. There it is, the octagon picnic table. So a lot of our programs in the state of Ohio will build this, put 3 students on it, give the students an assessment. One of our things about our books is at the end of each book, they have to do I recommend a 50-question assessment. But by doing that and fitting this into your programs, your students can earn easily 8 points credit just through Project Book 1 and 2 that I'm a firm believer any school can do with some very basic tools. To give you an idea of how many schools are currently using our curriculum in the state of Ohio, now we're a national organization. I just cover the state of Ohio. 179 schools are using our Career Connections curriculum, and that is throughout the whole entire state. The majority of those being in the northwest corner, but you can see Cleveland Job Corps, some of the bigger schools, Dayton Public is, and so on and so forth. And for everybody, if you have any requests for information at the end of this, please let me know. You'll have my email address. I will happily send you any of this information if you'd like to look over it, because we believe in partnerships. And when a school partners with us, they buy our curriculum. We not only help graduate their students, but we are offering them the pathway for the next step after school. Because Jeremy, kind of a controversial statement here, doesn't believe college is for everybody. And now the trades are becoming a very viable resource in not only employment, but benefits as well for students. Okay. But there are, like I said, 179 schools currently in the state of Ohio. Looking at the state of Ohio's recognized industry credential lists, there are actually, again, multiple pathways. So by using our curriculum, you can become a state recognized pre-apprenticeship backed by because we're an apprenticeship, we would back your program. And that's what that's saying is that I'll explain that in a moment with the articulation agreement, but we set a standard. And as long as your students meet that standard, not only are they earning that 12-point graduation credential, it opens up the pathway for direct entry into our apprenticeship and potentially the ability to come in with credit. And I'll take it one step further. If you do job placement with your seniors, we've just started rolling this out where we can job place juniors at the end of their junior year to go work for our union contractors, making $20 an hour plus benefits, so that by the time they go back their senior year, they go, and if the school allows job placement and the contractor is the right fit, the student continues to work at whatever schedule we can work out with them, so that when they graduate high school, they actually, we call it a year's credit in the apprenticeship, but it's something that they've earned through working the hours and hopefully attending a couple of our classes. So that's kind of a big deal for us, and working with a lot of these schools are starting to get into this state recognized pre-apprenticeship and job placement for their students. But the big one here that we're currently talking about is Project Book 1, 2, and 3. And you can see that each one of these are worth a 4-point credential. And just to show you what our credentials look like, I'll slide down. When a student finished Project Book 1, the school reaches out to me. I issue this certificate. It comes from us. I sign it. I like to deliver them to the school personally, but there's 179 schools currently, and that number is growing, and only one of me. So typically we want to make a big deal out of it and make sure that the students know that it's quite an accomplishment to finish this curriculum. Project Book 2, the book is blue, the certificate is blue. And then Project Book 3, you have your credential right here as well. If a student finishes Project Book 3, they'll actually get a letter from our International Training Center in Las Vegas from our General Secretary President saying, congratulations on completing this curriculum. It does offer a direct entry into the apprenticeship program if the student would like it. And that's not only right after high school, that could be 5 years down the road. If the instructor requests these certificates, I have the ability to track them. So a student comes to me 2 years later, maybe they got out, realized they weren't allowed to stay in their mom's basement and play PlayStation all day. They had to go get a job. Well, I can actually track these students and help bring them into the apprenticeship program that way. Okay. Ideally, our curriculum is sold at cost. We are not here to profit off of any school. I'm looking for the future of our organization in the Carpenters Union for those students that really want to be a carpenter, making our wages. In Columbus, it's as a journeyman, you're making 33 something an hour plus a $50 an hour benefit package. So I'm sorry, it's $33 an hour and a $27 benefit package. So a union carpenter in Columbus is making $60 an hour. And our benefit package includes pension, insurance, annuity, all that stuff. Plus our apprenticeship program, as I mentioned, is a 4-year-long program, 16 total classes. But the difference I like to tell the students is by going through your folks' program, if you offer something like this and earning these credentials, when they come to us, they only go to class once every 3 months. The rest of the time, they're out there on the job making money. And we offer an associate's degree for the apprentice so that when they finish our program, they've actually earned an associate's degree as well. Okay. Do I have any questions currently before I go on that we'd like to I'm throwing a lot of information at you folks very, very quickly.
Don't have any in the chat. If anybody wants to unmute and ask the question.
Yeah, I have one. In order to teach these courses, most of our teachers are certified in a particular construction field. Do you have to be certified in a construction field, or can a regular ed teacher who has experience in the carpentry field, can they teach that course?
Absolutely the second on that one. They can teach the course because, again, we know that not everybody, and I made the old joke that I could take a custodian and make them a carpentry instructor if they knew how to read a tape measure, because our curriculum spells out everything that needs to happen for an instructor. So you do not need to carry any credential. If you have construction experience, can read a tape measure and watch safety, you can teach this curriculum. Good question. I get that a lot.
So we have two other questions just popped up. The first
Sure.
one is, what is the cost? And then the second one is the books available in Spanish?
Okay. Let me address the Spanish version
Okay.
first. So in February, I'm heading out to Las Vegas. We're getting the entire nation together, and we're going to revamp this program a little bit. Our books haven't changed in 10 years. But one of the things is there's a high demand for not only Spanish, but multiple language. So to answer your question very generically, yes, you can translate. And I'm going to say that because through this LMS system, which is ran through Google Chrome, there is a way to do a translate mode on that for Spanish speaking students. That is above my understanding. I know it can be done. But frankly, currently, no, we do not have a Spanish version or any other language, but that is one of the things that will be brought up next month when I go out to our International Training Center. I just want to note that, yes, you can do it through Google. I've also had some of our schools use, it's like a wand, basically, that they go down, and it will translate for that. Also, for students that are, I guess, have trouble reading, there's an issue there too, and that's where the Google aspect was brought to my attention, because they could have it where it reads it off to them. The bilingual thing is something that is I don't want to say it's an issue I face every single day. We are hiring bilingual instructors now for this, which is a great thing, and we are actually leaning on them to translate a lot of our apprenticeship information into Spanish and other ones as well. So I'll be frank with you. Kettle ear, it's an earpiece. For anybody that has that translation issue, they're $200. The instructor has one. You can pass it off to 8, and that is how we are currently breaking the translation barrier. Kettle something or another. If you Google it, it'll pop up in their kettle. I want to say kettlebell, but that's not right. It's like kettle. I can answer that question later. I'll look it up and get you an answer for it. Okay, good question. Did I answer both? Was there 2 parts of that?
Of the Spanish one, yes.
Okay.
The other question was, what's the average cost? Is it by
Cost.
student?
Okay.
Or...
I was not expecting this one. Let me pull up the sheet. We sell everything at cost. I will tell you, our books, like Project Book 1 is like a $12 or $16 book. Project Book 2 is probably a $13 book. Let me find it here. I don't want to mislead anybody. I have it. Just a second here. Price sheet. There we go. So here's our entire curriculum. And thing we pride ourselves in is some of our competitors make you renew your subscriptions every 3 years. We don't believe in any of that. At cost, we're never here to upsell you on anything. So you can see here, the One Trade Mini Careers book's a $23 book. Project Book 1 is a $14 book. The other one is the instructor manual. To be a partner of ours, all you have to do is buy a classroom set of books. Again, Jeremy stretches every dollar. So if you have 15 students in your class, I'm going to recommend you buy 20 books of whichever one you have. You are now a partnering school. Our doors are open to you. Our doors are always open to any school, just so you know. You can come tour our facilities and stuff like that. But we go out of our way to reach out to your students because we care about their next step after school. And if construction and carpentry is the route they want to go, we want them to come to us. Project Book 3, again, $23 book. The teacher annotated edition is a little bit more. And then the only time that you will have a yearly renewal fee is if you use our online version, and that is $101 per year for the instructor and $17 per year per student. Okay, that's that LMS I was just showing you right here. Okay. $101 per year for the instructor license, which I think is very fair. So some schools don't use this feature at all. That's fine. Some schools only use the instructor version of it. That's fantastic. Some schools use both instructor and student versions. So when I say multiple pathways and a partnership, this is what we believe in with the Carpenters. Okay. Couple of our other books here. I know I got a few more minutes. I just want to touch and I'll answer any other questions. Math for the Trades is this is not a credential book. This is just a supplemental book we include, but I use it to teach our apprentices this as well. So the Pythagorean theorem, before they ever learn a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we take them down into the shop. All you need is a tape measure and a chalk box. We snap some lines, show them a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So now that they understand the concept by a hands-on approach to math, when I take them upstairs and start converting the numbers, light bulbs, everybody seems to get it a lot easier that way. So little trick for you. And all this is a hands-on approach to carpentry and learning math. Kids say they hate math. I tell them that's foolish because math is simply following steps. Don't ask me to spell anything, but I can math all day long because I just followed the steps. And then, as I mentioned, we are carpenters, millwrights, and floor layers. So millwrights are any school that have like a welding program, whether it be auto fab. A lot of schools are adopting welding programs as well. I can help you earn a 12-point credential for your students by doing something like that. The only issue currently is that these books by themselves are not worth a 4-point credential like the carpentry books are. To earn that 12-point credential for a weld program, it has to be through the state recognized pre-apprenticeship, which I'm going to hit on right now. Okay. So I hope everybody understands a little bit. You have our 3 carpentry books that are worth 4 points each. So if you have a 2-year program, a student comes in their junior year and they get through project book 1 and 2, which is very, very easy to do. They've earned 8 points credit. If they don't come back to your program next year, those 8 points still stay with that student. Okay. They don't go anywhere. They've completed the books. That is a graduation credential. If your student does come back at second year, now maybe you're getting into project book 3 with them, where we're talking about floor framing, wall framing, roof framing, concrete footers. I mean, we're going down the apprenticeship rabbit hole on this one. You are introducing them to these concepts. Okay. If they come back their senior year, they can earn that 4-point credential that way. Or, so you have the 3 individual books, or you can sign an articulation agreement with us. Make sure your students meet the standards of this articulation agreement. Now they're earning that blanket 12-point credential and a certificate from the governor saying that they've completed a state recognized pre-apprenticeship. It offers them a pathway into our direct entry into our apprenticeship program. It allows me to job place students with union contractors making our wages. So I just really want to hit home on this. The state recognized pre-apprenticeship is a big boost to the student for the ones that really want to go into the union afterwards. Okay. Direct entry, job placement. So, I mean, if you ask Jeremy, would I rather have spent my senior year in math class or out there on the job site making $20 an hour? It's a no-brainer for me. Not every school does that. It is a case-by-case scenario. I have to find the right contractor. I have to find the right school program. I'll tell most of you, I hate to say this, but a half-day program. Some of my schools are just getting away from that completely because the contractors, if a student, it's construction work, they have to go to the job site. So if the job site's 30 minutes away, by the time they get released from school, get to the job site, get their tool belt on, they may have an hour of hands-on work. End of day. Okay. So I'll give you some examples to consider if you're going to really look at job placement. Get away from half days. Some of my schools, I'll use Springfield Clark because I think they have a really good program, Springfield Clark in the Springfield area. What they do is the student, and this is only for the best of the best students. This is not for every one of your students. Okay. The ones that are responsible, have a driver's license, are going to show up to work, because the first day that they don't show up on the job site on time, that contractor's like, I'm done with you. And the kid has to go back into class. So Springfield Clark does 4 days in the field, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday, the student goes back into school just to keep up on his academics. If their academics slip, that will pull them off the job site immediately as well. We do not mess around. So this pre-apprenticeship, we are holding them to our standards in our apprenticeship. We're setting that bar early for them, and that is one of the requirements. Okay. It is almost like a zero strike policy. That is why we want the best of the best taking advantage of something like this. So Springfield Clark does 4 days in the field, 1 day in school. One of my other schools, they have 2 students that get registered with our contractor, and it's week in, week out. So student A is out in the field week 1, while student B is in the classroom, and then they flip-flop. Student B goes out to the field, student A stays in the classroom. The benefit to that is that contractor has that continuous body, that continuous mentor that they place them with. So week in and week out, the person may change, but the skill sets are still going to be the same, and the contractor can rely on that person. Okay. So what does this pre-apprenticeship entail? This is an articulation agreement. It's not a binding contract. I'm going to jump real quick to my school count again, just so you guys can kind of start seeing how all these pieces come together. Of the 179 schools in Ohio using Career Connections curriculum, 103 of them have articulation agreements with us and are state recognized pre-apprenticeship programs. Okay. If any of you have questions about who is who and if they do or don't, please let me know. I'll send you this list. Not a problem whatsoever. But this articulation agreement, basically this says that the student must meet these requirements to earn all these extra benefits that we offer. So all you would do is first you have to buy the curriculum. Now you're a partnering school. If you decide to go the state recognized pre-apprenticeship route, your school and program will fill this paperwork out. You send it to me, I sign it, and I submit that to Apprentice Ohio. That is how a program becomes a state recognized pre-apprenticeship. You may be asking yourselves, but Jeremy, what if we don't have a 2-year program and we can't get into Project Book 3 because you do have to get through all 3 of the books? I told you multiple pathways. I will show you that in a second as well. So let me scroll down first. You start off with the school to fill out everything highlighted here with their information. I'll go to the last page. The program representative, whether that be principal, superintendent, would sign it. The program coordinator would sign it. The instructor would sign it. That is saying that you are making sure these students are meeting the requirements. I sign it myself, and then I submit that to the Apprentice Ohio board. Now your program is a state recognized pre-apprenticeship. What are the requirements? Let's talk about books. And again, I can send anybody this information. You're welcome to read through it. The idea is for a program to get through Project Book 1, 2, and 3 over a 2-year period. Okay. However, we know a lot of high schools can't do that. We also know a lot of students transfer in maybe their senior year. We still want to offer them a 12-point credential. So what we decided to do was for the traditional high school or a student, and you need to do it in a 1-year span, we offer you that pathway by substituting Project Book 3 with, remember that soft skills book I talked about earlier, One Trade, Many Careers? It's rigorous, but a student could actually get through all 3 of those books in 1 year, earn that 12-point credential through the state, be part of a state recognized pre-apprenticeship. And again, this is for the upper echelon students that we're looking for, but also be job place. Job placement is going to be kind of hard in a 1-year span. Okay. Just so everybody knows, but multiple pathways for graduation. Our career centers are focusing on Project Book 1, 2, and 3. Our traditional high school programs are doing the One Trade, Many Careers, Project Book 1 and 2. And ideally, if you get done with that, that's fantastic. Start exposing your students to Project Book 3, roof framing, layout, wall framing, and all that stuff. Multiple pathways. What you're going to find out with this articulation agreement is the majority of the responsibility falls on the student's shoulders. First off, if a student is part of this direct entry, they must complete an application with us. We're the College of Carpentry. They would have to fill out an application with us anyhow. They have to earn their high school diploma or GED. We do not mess around with grades in the apprenticeship. We're not going to mess around with students that are letting their grades slip in high school. So the students are their own worst enemy on this one. but most of them we're going to assume are going to earn their high school diploma. We need to have a recommendation from the instructor. And the reason I say that, once a student registers with the apprenticeship, there is no going back and changing it. So I'll give you an example. If a student is entitled to a 6-month credit with us, I need the instructor to let me know that that student is coming to us, because if they get registered in the state, remember we are a statewide program, if they go to Monroe down in Cincinnati's area and register without me knowing to make sure they get that Career Connections credit, there's nothing I can do once they've registered. So that is why we are adamant about asking instructors to let us know that their students are coming to us, just to make sure that they get. And the one that usually gets the students is right here. They must maintain a 2.0 GPA or better, and they must have a 95% attendance record. Ladies and gentlemen, in the apprenticeship program, I said they come to class once every 3 months. To earn a 5% raise with us, they have to attend 2 classes. If they don't make those classes, or they don't put forth the effort to get through this program, they don't get their pay raise. And what Jeremy has learned over these 15 years in the apprenticeship program is, when you control their pay raises, they technically control them. You have them by the money sacks, because money is the best driver for every single person out there, I believe, especially in the workforce. So to earn that 5% raise, they don't show up to our classes, they don't get a pay raise. That is why we are setting the standard with you folks in your programs, to understand that there is no messing around in the next step. They don't show up to class, they get terminated. They get terminated, they can't go work for union contractors making $33 an hour plus benefits. Okay. So I am almost exactly on my timeline, Miss Megan, right here. I do want to answer questions. I'm sure there are a lot. This is typically a 1-hour presentation that I crammed into 35 minutes. So who would have any questions for me? Stop sharing my screen real quick.
Can you make this I guess presentation available to us, so we can show it to our counselors and our I guess our supervisor in terms of our technical education courses?
I'll do you one better. What I'm going to recommend is, if anybody has interest in this, schedule a Zoom meeting with me. You will have my contact information. So I believe Megan is recording this and you will have access to it. But I would rather sit down one-on-one and actually walk you through this step by step and answer the questions. So I will send you the documentation, but I highly encourage, if anybody has interest in this, set up a Zoom meeting with me. As the assistant director, I'm taking a little bit of a step away from this. I will oversee it, but I have one of my instructors in our Richfield Training Center. She's taking the reins from me, and she and I will definitely sit down and get you scheduled. So yes, anything you need and have interest in, we will set you up in the near future. And I recommend just setting up an hour Zoom meeting with us, and we will walk you through this whole thing and answer any question you have.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask what school you got, gentlemen, from?
Woodward
Career Technical High School,
Cincinnati.
Where's that at? Cincinnati. I thought you are. Do you guys have Oakmount in your program? Is that something you're familiar? Oakmount. It's like a. I thought I delivered books to you guys. That's why I'm asking. Our Career Connections book. Oakmount is kind of based out of Cincinnati, and the way it's like a high risk or at risk youth program. So that's one of the ones that we are actually partnered with as well. So those students are earning our credentials. I must have the wrong school. I apologize.
Well, we'll be in Cincinnati. We'll be up in Monroe on the 29th, I believe it is. We have a professional development set up there, and we're already attempting to purchase the books. We're waiting on our purchase order now to do our
okay, maybe that's where I'm getting confused. Your name sounds familiar, because I think I've spoken to somebody from your school about our curriculum. And just so everybody knows, our training center is open door policy. We do a yearly open house. But if anybody wants to come and take a student through a tour of our facility and see what the next step is, these are state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar facilities. And every student is welcome. I would rather than come through and see what we do and make an educated decision after graduation on what they want to be when they grow up, as opposed to, I came from the military. I know what recruiters do. They promise you the world. I'd rather show them what they can do instead. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anything, Miss Megan?
Not in the chat, so I was just letting them unmute if they had any other questions. I
Well,
did put your email in the chat though.
I'm not in the, we're not on the chat, but right now we're teaching basic framing and roofing and floor joists and things of that nature. That's in your third year book. Only thing we haven't
Yep.
covered is footers and foundations, although we talk about that. And so the gist
Yep.
of that, we'll probably be using metal studs in our next phase. I'm not sure exactly, in our electrical program, we deal with all metal studs. Is that the way you're going? Or are you leaning more towards wood framing or,
We are commercial. We are all metal.
Okay.
And the reason is residential cannot pay our wages. It's a long fight that we were trying to do. But again, I'm not here to change your program. Some of our competitors dictate how you run it. I will tell you this, I encourage you to expose your students to metal if you can. It doesn't have to be an entire project. If you use our curriculum, we are not going to change if you already have a program. All I'm going to do is ask you to meet our standards, and you don't even have to do our projects. You could continue doing your projects as long as, and what I would do is I would evaluate your program. If you're doing, let's say, sawhorses, that is a project book 2 book. I say, okay, your sawhorses, they're a little bit different than ours, but they're still sawhorses. So as long as you have a grading rubric and an evaluation sheet very similar to ours, you can still do your projects. I got no problem with that.
We've actually had some projects where we've done some wall framing, floor systems, and I've touched on a little bit of roof framing, rafters.
And Dr. Cruz,
You're scratching project book 3. You are right there without a doubt.
I know project book 1, I guess our program facilitator, Dr. Cruiser, they're already working on things like sawhorses, and we're building book stands for books where people can drive up and drop them off for the University of Cincinnati. I think that may account for for level 1 for our 10th graders. So
again, we work with our programs. We want to offer not only the best product. There was just so much I couldn't get through and show you how we tailor our curriculum to today's student. Big pictures, short descriptions. Carpentry, you learn by doing the hands-on. I don't want a kid sitting behind a desk for a year before they ever get out to the shop. So all of our stuff is geared, how quickly and safely can we get them through basic training and get them out there hands-on approach to carpentry. And I know you guys said Great Cincinnati, all the Great Oaks programs, they are backed by our curriculum. Scarlet, Dime. I'll send you a list if anybody wants